welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level business English lesson, and today we're going to be talking about how to give reasons and results and backup ideas with reasons. All right, so first we're going to talk about the challenges of leadership. So think about being a leader, and then you can answer the questions below in the comments. Do you think that being a leader is easy? Is leadership a natural ability, or can everyone learn to be a good leader? And what do you think is the most difficult thing about being a leader? Now we'll read about some cultural leadership differences. You can pause the video, read these on your own, or follow along as I read, and then you can share what you think of these statements by each of these managers in the comments. So the first person says, I am German. When I worked in the US, I had trouble motivating my employees. I learned that Americans expected to receive positive feedback all the time, even for creating small everyday tasks. In Germany, employees are only praised for great effort and major achievements. I'm an American who works as a manager at an Indian company. The first time that I asked my Indian employees to participate in decision making, they thought that I didn't know what I was doing. With time, I learned that the best thing to do was to ask employees for 3 suggestions and use their suggestions to make my final decision. This was a compromise between the American business style and the style that they were used to in India. Now we'll do some vocabulary words. Again, you can pause the video and try these on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So a move to a more important job in a company is number 2, a promotion. A point in time in which something must be done is number 3, deadline. The power to give orders to people is number 5, authority. Something you receive as well as money for doing a job is number 1, perks. A situation in which people disagree strongly is number 6, conflict. And to give all your attention to something and not think about anything else is number 4, concentrate. Okay, now you complete the sentences below with the correct word from the boxes, and you may need to change the form of the words. Again, you can pause the video and try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. The decision to reduce staff bonuses caused a lot of conflict between staff and management. She is the head of sales and so has authority over the sales representatives. Kenny worked hard last year and was rewarded with a promotion to a management position. Some of the perks that employees receive at our company include a company car and free use of the company's facilities. It is difficult for me to concentrate on my work because the people around me are talking so much. And the deadline is the end of this week, and I will have to work hard to finish before then. Now, one challenge for leaders is keeping their employees happy. So answer the questions below in the comments. How important is it for companies and leaders to keep employees happy, and why? What can companies and leaders do to keep employees happy? And what might make employees unhappy? All right, now we're going to read an article about Google's approach to keeping employees happy at work, and which ideas from the list does Google use. You can pause the video and read this on your own, or you can follow along as I read. Google's happy employees. Many people dream of working for Google, not only because of the success of the company in recent years, but also because of the way they manage their employees. Google is famous for its staff perks, free food, gym memberships, on-site massages, and even has a chief happiness officer whose job is to keep employees happy. The idea is simple: create a work culture that keeps employees happy, and as a result, employees will work hard and do their best. We want our employees and future employees to love it here because that is what's going to make us successful, explains Karen May, Google's VP of People Development. So, offering perks to employees, that is actually mentioned in this section of the article. Organizing parties, they didn't mention that. Giving employees freedom, not specifically mentioned. Trusting their employees, not mentioned. And giving awards to the best employees is not mentioned. All right, we'll continue with the article. So how does Google keep its employees happy? First, Google believes in giving freedom to its employees. They allow employees to use 20% of their work time to work on special projects and interests. They let employees choose their hours and offer them plenty of places in the office where they can relax, like rooms with ping pong tables and places to nap. Consequently, this relaxing environment results in more creative and productive employees. Another thing that Google does well is trusting their employees. Employees are given access to all company information, including business strategy. Google's culture encourages employees to ask questions, share their opinions, and work together with the leaders to solve problems. For example, the company often has Q&A sessions where employees can speak about any worries that they may have. Google's employee-friendly work environment helps most Googlers to stay happy and motivated to go to work and do their jobs well. So we'd already talked about offering perks to employees. Offering parties, they don't really mention that. They did talk about giving employees the freedom to choose their hours, and then trusting their employees is mentioned here. They didn't mention giving awards to the best employees. All right, now you can read the article again on your own and then answer these questions, true or false. So pause the video, read once again, answer the questions, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So Google's success is the main reason people want to work there. I would say that's false. It's one of the reasons, but not necessarily the main reason. It says it's not only because of success, but also because of the way they manage their employees. Google has a position which is responsible for keeping staff happy. That's true. They have a chief happiness officer whose job is to keep employees happy. Google employees only have to work for 20% of the day. That is false. It says that they can use 20% of their time to work on special projects and interests. Google's leaders want to hear the opinions of their employees. That is true. Because their culture encourages their employees to ask questions, share their opinions, and they have the question and answer sessions. Now think about the information about working at Google from the text, and then answer the questions below in the comments. Would you like to work at Google? Why or why not? Of the ideas mentioned in the article, which do you think is the most important for keeping employees happy? And is there anything that you don't like about Google's work environment? Right, because and so are often used to talk about reasons and results. Both because and so come before independent clauses. An independent clause is a series of words that can exist as a complete sentence. So I'm going to work late today because I need to finish this report. So going to work late is the result, and the reason is the need to finish the report. You can also put them in the other order, with the reason coming first and then the result. I need to finish the report, so I'm going to work late today. And if you want to share some ideas in the comments, what are some other words or expressions can you think of that are used to talk about results? And what can we use to talk about reasons? So as, since, and because of can all be used to introduce a reason. As and since are used before an independent clause in the same way as because. I'm going to work late today since I need to finish the report. Or I'm leaving now as I have to visit a client. Because of is used before a noun or a noun phrase, not an independent clause. The event was canceled because of the bad weather. I left my job because of my boss. So weather and boss are both nouns. We can also use phrases to introduce reasons. These often come at the beginning of a new sentence and before a clause. We're going to open a new factory next year. The main reason for this is we need to increase production. Another reason is we want to start producing new products. We've decided to update our computer system. This is because our current system is too slow. Now, here are a few more questions that you can answer in the comments, and be sure to use the as, since, because, and because of when writing your answers. So what job do you do, and why did you decide to do this job? Why are you studying English? What is a goal that you have for this year, and why is it important to you? And what is something that you would like to change at work, and why? So now look at the list of common problems that leaders face. What do you think are usually the reasons for these problems? Employees not working hard enough, poor communication with employees, and conflicts between employees. And again, you can put your answers in the comments. Here are some starters to help you. Lots of leaders have problems communicating with employees. I think the main reason for this is, and then you can go ahead and complete that with your reason. Or in my experience, employees might not work hard because of, and then complete the thought with your own ideas. All right, so now we're going to read about a conflict between two coworkers. First, we have the vocabulary phrase to get along with, which means to have a friendly relationship with. You can pause the video and read this on your own and then answer the questions, or you can follow along as I read. As a manager, Julieta has noticed that there are two employees on her team, Joseph and Lydia, who don't get along with each other. It is a big problem because they work in the same office, and it is affecting their work and the work of other employees on the team. For example, the two employees speak poorly about each other to other members of the team, and some employees are stressed to come to work because the office is so uncomfortable. So what do you think might be the reason for the conflict, and how do you think the manager can help solve the problem? All right, we're going to listen to a conversation that Julieta first has with Joseph about the problem. So you're going to listen, and then again, you can answer the questions in the comments. We have a vocabulary phrase. Leave something to the last minute means to not do something until very close to the deadline. Right, so we'll listen.
Joseph, I've noticed that there's a problem between you and Lydia. What's going on?
Well, I'm not sure. Lydia and I just don't work well together. I feel like she doesn't trust me. She often gets involved with my clients without asking me. For example, last week when I called Grayson to speak about the project, he said that he had already received an email from Lydia.
Why do you think she does that?
I have no idea. Maybe because she is trying to get a promotion. I would just prefer that she does her own job and stops worrying about my job.
Okay, I will talk to Lydia about that. Listen, Joseph, I have noticed that sometimes you leave your work to the last minute. And you did miss a deadline last month. Maybe Lydia doesn't trust that you will do your job because you sometimes wait until very close to the deadline before doing things.
Maybe.
How about we make your deadlines a few days early so we never have to worry about you missing another deadline? I can help you to change your calendar.
All right, so why does Joseph feel that he and Lydia don't work well together? Joseph feels that Lydia doesn't trust him. What does Joseph think Lydia wants? He thinks that Lydia wants to get a promotion. What reason for the problem does Julieta suggest? Julieta suggests that Lydia doesn't trust Joseph because he sometimes misses deadlines. And what solution does Julieta offer? Julieta suggests that Joseph makes his deadlines on his calendar a few days earlier than the actual deadline. Now Julieta then talks to Lydia to hear her side. So again, we'll listen and then answer the questions.
Lydia, I've noticed that you and Joseph don't feel comfortable working together. Could you tell me what might be causing this?
Yeah, I do have trouble working with Joseph. It's just that he's. he doesn't always do his job. And as a result, I always have to do his work.
Why do you have to do his work?
Because if I don't do the work, nobody will. For instance, we didn't miss the deadline last week because I did some of Joseph's part.
Thanks for your concern. I know you're a hard-working employee who wants what is best for the company. But it's my job to make sure that Joseph does his work, not yours. Please don't worry about his work. If I feel that he needs some help, I'll let you know. Of course, if you see a big problem, let me know. But if not, please just concentrate on your clients and let Joseph concentrate on his clients.
All right, so why does Lydia feel that she and Joseph uh, don't work well together? So Lydia feels that Joseph doesn't always do his job. Why does Lydia think that she has to do Joseph's work? She thinks that if she doesn't do Joseph's work, nobody will. What does Julieta say that she will do? Julieta says that she will make sure that Joseph does his work. And what does Julieta ask Lydia to do? She asks Lydia to concentrate on her own work. Now consider how Julieta solved the issue between Joseph and Lydia and discuss the questions below. So what do you think of the way that Julieta tried to solve the problem? Do you think it'll be successful? Why or why not? And what would you do if you were in Julieta's situation? And you can put your answers to these questions into the comments. Right, now read the information below about another workplace conflict and then share what you would do if you were the leader in the comments and be sure to explain your reasons. And we have a vocabulary phrase here, a phrasal verb. Point out is to draw attention to something. So Goran is one of your best employees. He's experienced, successful, and has very high standards. Abby is new to your team. She is talented and works hard, but she sometimes makes mistakes as she hasn't worked with the team for very long. Goran wants everything to be perfect and lets Abby know directly if something is wrong. He thinks that he is helping her to improve. Abby feels that Goran is always negative about everything she does, and she feels bad when he points out her mistakes. So in the comments, go ahead and write some ideas about what you think would be a good solution to this workplace conflict. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, participate in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.